Ooh. The background music?
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:02. And I want to remind everybody that we're on Zoom, so you need to say your name and your address when you start to speak so that it gets recorded into the minutes and other things. Okay, first we're going to read the minutes. Then we're going to talk to Alex, who's a applicant for, I'm sorry, conservation agent. And then we're going to talk to Freeman Knowlton from Hollow Road. And then we're going to talk about the Mill Pond follow-up on the signage and stuff. And Bonnie's going to distribute the 530 Glendale materials. So minutes first.
You should all have a copy in your folder.
Here.
I should say currently in attendance are Tom Page and Ted Ziebert and Judy McKinley Brewer with Bonnie Jeremini recording. We don't have our fourth member yet. We weren't going to use CPA money because then we would have to wait until spring and then the money that would come in July. So we were going to use it out of our own mitigation fund.
Okay.
Where's that source one?
Number 2.
CPA right there.
So the conservation revolving account.
It should be called stewardship money, actually. I always say mitigation, but it's. Okay, has everybody reviewed?
Yep.
Okay, we'll vote on it when we get a fourth member,
Oh, yeah, all right. Okay. If you get lunch.
if we do. Okay, so next, just for people who are on Zoom, we've been talking about hiring a joint conservation agent with Granby. The conservation agent would spend, I think the conversation right now is about 15 hours a week here and time also in Granby. And there's been a lot of discussion about how the duties would exactly be divided up, but there would still be a commission chair and there would still be Bonnie's position, whatever that officially is called. So Alex is interviewing for, how do you say your last name?
Grigorov.
Gregorov?
Grigorov.
Gregorov. Okay, Gregorov. And he's interviewing for the position of conservation agent. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So,
If I can interrupt, Alex, can you slide to this chair? Because you're not on
I'll just
camera
be on screen.
yeah, sure.
while you're talking.
There you go.
That way the people on Zoom will.
We have seen your CV, but just, for the people around.
So, currently I'm employed for the city of Marlborough. There I work in conservation, zoning board of appeals, and I do some site plan review as well. So I primarily work with ZBA and conservation, those two boards, and ZBA is just my own thing. Previously, I went to school for natural resources at Mount Wachusett. And my wife took a job in Longmeadow, Massachusetts, as their tree warden and conservation agent. And she spent a considerable amount of time doing a long commute there because we were located in Leominster. And so she was doing that commute for a while we were looking for a place, because we were trying to find something that was equidistant. So she was going an hour and I was going an hour to Marlborough. And we couldn't find anything. So we moved to Amherst, which is an area we love, absolutely love. So that was a nice win. And I just continue to commute to Marlborough because I really love my boards. They're fantastic. I've seen quite a few boards and they really, so they hold a high bar for sure. And so I wanted to try to make that work, but I've been commuting 2 hours each way for a couple months now, and it's just not sustainable. And then now with the temperatures dropping, so does the MPG, and it's getting even more expensive on top of it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking.
Okay, well, I noticed that you had changed jobs a couple of times. That explains it.
Yes.
And I've been there. I used to work in Worcester for 8 years and drive there, so not fun. Anybody have any questions that you'd like to?
I had a bunch when we were on the,
Yeah,
when we did the Zoom, and I can't remember now to repeat.
yeah, I don't remember what you asked.
Yeah, I know. I
was
asked
on the
3 or
Zoom
4 and I can't remember
For that
now.
meeting
I'm
also.
drawing a blank. I should have wrote them down. In general, this is I don't know if it's more hands-on than what you're used to or not. Being a small board in a town that doesn't have a ton of funds for a lot of people, a lot of our work is hands-on. And that means, maybe getting a call on a Saturday or in an evening, things of that nature. Also means you have to go out and do the site inspections with us, things of that nature. That fine with you?
Yeah, I mean, in Marlborough, well, my zoning board was 4 people. My conservation one was larger, it was 7. And my boss primarily did the site visits, but I have been going on some of those as well. I recently went out for an ANRAD to check their delineation flags and actually bought us 45 feet that we didn't have before. So so that was nice, but it's nothing I'm not entirely used to. So
We tend to go out as a board,
Yeah.
not maybe all of us 2 or 3 or so, and the agent would be expected to go with them.
okay,
And there's not really a lot. We didn't have any this past month, so.
yeah.
Yeah.
In the summer, there's,
Yeah.
but
Like all conservation commissions, it comes and goes.
The
with
hot and
seasons.
cold.
Spring is always really full, and fall, at the early part of fall is usually really full. Now it's kind of quieting down.
Mhm.
So what questions do you have for us?
So I can see that you've been very self-sufficient, and so I would actually like to know, because you're the one who's in the office most of the time, right?
Right.
I would really like to know, I know we touched on it a bit, what exactly you're doing presently?
What do I do?
Yeah.
Well, I do a lot. I do, when I get in every morning, of course, I do the phone, the messages. And then I go over all the emails. I answer emails that have to be answered. I was chairperson for years, so that it's very easy for me to answer emails and phone messages because I know all the
She knows most
players.
of the properties and their prior
Yeah.
owners.
And then when it's time to issue orders of conditions or ORADs or determinations, then Judy and I work together on that. I mean, everybody during meetings contributes, but then for the final product, Judy will work on that, and then sometimes we'll throw ideas back and forth between each other. And then when we get the final document, then I will do it up in the, in the forms that it has to be done in. And then at the meetings, then the members will vote on that and sign it.
The two ladies are generally doing most of the legals of everything we have to do.
Yeah, we have co-chair right now.
We're co-chair, which I was going, I tend to do the interface to the selectmen and the planning board and things like that when Bonnie's not doing it.
Okay.
I'm, I keep an eye on what's going on planning board and select board and things like that.
I did write out a proposed division, three-way division of the tasks that Bob has, but he hasn't said yes or no yet. If he does, we'll send it on to you so that you can see. Because each of us does a part of each of the tasks. And what I did was divide out mostly what I do in the site visits. Tom and Ted do most of the site visits right now. They're more willing and more available, both, I think, right now.
Yeah.
But other than that, most things have all three people participating, but just on different levels of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like providing the conditions or working them up.
We do have 3 other members.
Yes.
But
All three of them have work situations right now. One has got a new job where he's down in Connecticut a lot and just can't get back up. We have another guy who's taken a part-time night position. So he can't come for the next 2 months. The third man may be leaving us. We don't know yet. He's reapplying for a job. And so we don't know what his situation is going to be. So we are 6 members, though right now only 3 of us are here and relatively active because of the situation of the other 3, which are fluid right at the moment.
And we have one member who, he works for the electric company and plus he does a lot of other things in town. He's a volunteer fireman and lots of different, he was on the stormwater committee and et cetera, et cetera. So he really wants to go down to just being an associate member rather than a full-time member. But he's not going to do that until we find out, how many members are going
They're
to
all
be.
stabilized.
Yeah.
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 we need new people to.
Yeah, say one guy's taking a part-time holiday job.
Yeah.
Evening, so he's out of touch until after Christmas.
Okay.
And the other guy, he got laid off and he's in the process of trying to find a new job and, So anyhow, there'd be 6 of us normally.
Okay.
So,
And we work with,
Glad to have 7. We just,
yeah,
it's a small town,
it's
so.
really tough getting volunteers.
Oh, yeah. No, it's understandable.
But we work a lot with our circuit rider, Mark Stinson.
out of Springfield.
Yeah, I've
So I'm
heard
sure your
of
wife
him.
knows.
Yeah, Mark
He's
is
been doing it forever.
yeah.
Yeah, yes, and he's very knowledgeable.
only when he didn't get his COVID shot, they fired him.
Yeah.
But then they took him back like a year later.
Yeah.
But we work a lot with him. Judy and I have both been on the phone with him the last couple of days over a new solar project that will be coming in
I
in
did see
December.
a new notice of intent, so, and that would be that, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
we can't talk about it because it's not,
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
right.
it's very big and complex.
And we
More
all,
complex than big, in fact.
Right.
And we've already done the ANRED for it, so it's now at that next stage. And it's scheduled for the 20th of December to start their first meeting.
yeah,
So is Mark, is he helping you with like, special conditions or is one of you taking lead on that?
He does any of the things that we've specifically asked him to. When I spoke to him, he's going to be more helpful in looking at it in detail and making sure he points out things we need to pay attention to or issues like that. He always does that to a certain extent. He writes it on our on the number certificate that where they give you the DEP number and they send it to you. He always delineates out the things he thinks that we should especially pay attention to. So he'll be doing that to a greater extent because it's a greater project.
Yeah, the smaller ones, he doesn't do it a lot.
right.
Yeah.
And on the larger projects, we also use peer review. We use tie and bond a lot. And then we have other people, Pete Levesque, Emily Stockman, other people that we also use depending on the project that we need a peer review on.
And one big question that came up yesterday for me is, where are you posting notice for public hearings?
It's on, well, a lot of places. It has to be posted outside.
Yep, okay, that's adequate right there.
Well, officially, our posting site is our website.
Yeah, and then it's also on the website. It's also on the town calendar.
And it gets published in the newspaper.
And yeah,
We still have an active newspaper in this area, so
I'll say
we
post.
can put.
only the NOIs and
Hearings.
ANRADs and requests for determinations,
Well,
not just normal
Official public
meetings.
hearings.
Yeah, I was just kind of referring to just the general, just the notice with like, so not like sorry, it's been a long day.
The agenda.
Like just the whole agenda, yeah.
The general meeting like tonight where there's no hearing.
So that's,
It's posted here in the townhouse, it's posted on our website.
And on the
So
calendar.
if you go
which is
to
the
Town of Hampden, Mass, we have a section of the website and up to the right is where the minutes are for the next, not the agenda for the next meeting.
I was curious because I didn't, so Bob told me to come in today for a meeting, but he didn't tell me when or where.
Really?
Yeah, and so
Oh.
I checked on the website to look for, and I didn't see it on the website. So I went back to an older posting, but then I emailed him, I was like,
Oh,
are you sure there's a meeting tonight? And he said, I guess there's not. And so the only reason I'm actually here ironically is a resident yesterday from here came into the Granby meeting and messaged me, who I thought was a commissioner at first, but she told me that there was a meeting tonight. So that's actually
Wow.
the only reason why I'm here.
Yeah, it's up in the right-hand corner. Apparently, it's not apparent to a lot of people. They don't always
I
find it.
just wanted to make sure that it was, we were posting.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
posted a lot of places.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
I don't see it. I'm looking and
Is it not showing up on our webpage?
It should be.
Yeah, I think the last one I saw was
it's not on the
September.
calendar.
Oh, that's
Today?
down on the right-hand side lower. It's up in the right-hand corner.
Up at the top, okay.
Yeah, it's funny because down there has all the old stuff. And, so you'd think it'd be right at the top.
Yeah,
but it's
I know
not.
it's on the calendar
It's in the
because
upper corner.
I was showing Bob today where it was.
not on the,
It's on the town calendar on
On the
on
front
the
page.
town webpage.
that's what I'm looking at.
Right
Well,
there.
it was,
We just lost our town. What do you call her? She's not really a secretary. She was an administrator's
to the seller.
assistant or whatever. So I think the new person may be getting used to. There's all these little postings and she
I know.
manages the town calendar.
I mean, and honestly, I mean, open meeting law, as I interpret it is, it needs to be stamped, but it needs to be put somewhere, on your website
Oh,
or
yeah.
outside or in a paper.
It's
And if you're doing-
usually-
If you're doing multiple, I mean, you fulfilled your obligation,
Yeah.
even if for some reason it's not there, I'm not concerned
And
about it.
it is on the website because Bob and I showed him today. I went to the website and then hit conservation and
Yeah,
it's right there.
but it may not be on the town calendar.
Yeah.
It's just
Okay.
that'll be a new thing for her. Well, it's about 20 after, so I don't want to keep you too long, but any other questions you have?
Those were most of, I guess, another thing is site visits, I know we would usually do the big ones together. Do you want, I mean, at least for in the beginning, I want to do everything. If I'm taking this position, I'm going to do everything the way we're already doing things, and we can discuss if we want to change anything, we can discuss that later. But do you want me with all of you on all site visits or just like bigger notice of intent related ones? What are your thoughts
I
on
would,
that?
What we've tended to do is, for ones that are relatively small, like putting in a barn and it's not a complicated site or something, just a couple or three people will go.
yeah, a lot of times it's one of us two will go if it's the simple.
Yeah.
Big thing like solar, then we try to get every.
Or anything where there's, likely to be wetland issues. You know, we ask people to do RDAs even if we're not positive so that we can look at the land and look at the plants and all that sort of stuff. So your role doing that, especially after I leave, would be more important because of recognizing the plants and the wetlands and things like that. I mean, certainly everybody on the commission knows about leaf markings and all of those other kinds of things. They can generally do that, but if it's a complicated site, then not only do we do that, but we usually get a peer review.
Yeah,
as
well, of course, but we always want to, like, I like when we have a peer reviewer, I usually go out with them at one point to just
Yes. we do
agree
too.
Yeah.
with them.
So I guess the brief answer is it fluctuates, but
Yes.
Yeah.
yes.
If somebody's just putting in a garage and it needs to be reviewed, and one or two of us are running out on a Saturday morning,
Or cutting a tree down.
I would assume we're not gonna make you come out on
Yeah.
as a paid person, come out,
Yeah, they-
something as simple as that.
They would go out, if they have any questions at all, they take pictures and bring them back.
Yeah, and then we may say, hey, we said
Yeah,
this
this might be an
may be a
issue.
problem,
Yeah.
and we may have to have you go out at another time to look at it.
Oh,
or
of
something like
course,
that.
and I just wanted to check, because for some things like this is certainly a commute I don't have an issue with, but it is close to an hour for me to get here. So to come in
Yeah.
for one visit on a Saturday,
Yeah.
if it's a big project,
Right,
not a
that's-
problem, but
you're
if,
probably
like you
gonna-
said, a
yeah.
garage,
No.
Well, we've also kind of had a tradition of trying very hard to schedule around people's work hours.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of guys who don't or haven't been getting out of work until after 5. So when there's light in the summertime, we tend to schedule them during the week late or
Afternoons,
Saturday.
After.
So it depends on who's on and who's around and what their hours are.
This
But
time.
I would presume that we would try to schedule more of them on weekdays, so you wouldn't have to go back and forth.
and when you say you're going, are you stepping down?
I'm retiring in June.
Oh, no, I've seen a couple of videos and you're
Thank you.
good. We can't lose you.
Oh, it's been, well, by 24, it will be 20 years.
Well, Hampton was lucky.
And
Yeah.
Ted's leaving at the same time.
I'm leaving at the same
Oh,
time.
goodness.
He's only here because he promised to be a co-chair, and so now he's stuck until I leave. So,
Age is catching up.
yeah.
Well, thank you both.
I don't
Get
know
away.
what we're gonna do then.
Which is one reason we question the town that we need a paid agent.
Yeah.
A couple of those old timers have been around, are
Yeah.
retiring, and
We do have a lot of new young families that are moving into town,
Yeah,
and that provides some energy, that I think will be good, and we'll probably have people willing to serve as long as they can, get the training and stuff. We have a good training fund. We always pay for any training that people
send them
want.
off to MACC.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect.
yeah.
Or,
If we do have money, if
sometimes
it comes down to
other-
something you need, there is
yeah,
funds.
sometimes other sorts of things like special things at UMass or that sort of thing.
Yeah, this is a very, it goes without saying, it's a very complicated job, so I try to frequently attend classes, so.
Yeah, because like they were saying, the commission is changing, Judy will be gone in June or whenever the solar project is done, probably.
Oh.
Ted will be gone. We have another, one of our younger members. He may be working like up in the Berkshires, we're not sure. So he'll be gone. We have another one who I was telling you, does a lot of volunteer work, plus he's a manager for the electric company. He's dropping down to an associate member.
Okay.
So, we're talking Tom
Yeah, I'll be the only one left.
Who's been on a while now, so he's.
and Greg, and we do have one other
Greg,
member,
yeah.
Greg.
Great.
So,
And if Andrew's around, he knows the town very well because he's been a firefighter.
and we need, it's very hard to get people to volunteer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even in a small town like this, it's very, very difficult, and one of my concerns is that, if we drop down that low, we're not gonna have
Yeah,
enough people to really vote on any projects, and like these solar projects are huge.
Mhm.
And,
Yes.
I mean, that's just one example, but,
So we're gonna have to spend the next 6 months really
Yeah.
recruiting.
and we have a subdivision in town that, they're kind of going belly up, but there's someone that's interested in purchasing it. So now we've got we will have a subdivision also, to review, because most of the lots left would come under the Conservation Commission, at least with requests for determinations,
Summers Road?
huh?
Summer,
Not Kibby Lane.
yeah,
Kibby Lane.
yeah, some, okay. Took me a while to which one you're talking.
So,
Yeah.
it's a big concern right now.
yeah, I'd say so. Certainly, I have to recruit. Do we have like a Facebook page, things like that?
No, we don't.
No.
There's,
We'll find ways to get it out
there's
there.
town Facebook pages.
Yeah, there's a Hampden Forum
And it's not
that has,
town, but it's people in town.
Yeah.
Started
And there
something.
is advertising
Forums.
in there
yeah,
for conservation
and we have
members.
the senior center publishes a scribe, which goes to the whole town. And if we want to notice to get around far, we usually put it in there because it goes with the paper, and so
It goes out in
a lot
the
of places.
reminder.
Yeah, no, the Times,
Yeah, that's what I meant.
yeah.
If you've got a very active social media, active audience of social media
Hmm.
here in towns, because some do and some don't.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
if
yeah.
you do
Yeah,
that,
it is.
that is.
Yeah.
yeah,
I guess
perfect spot.
the commission has none.
Yeah,
Not
We,
specifically.
we,
But we could post on the
Yeah.
Hampden Forum.
but there's a couple of.
In fact, there's a lot of 3 or 4 town groups also
Yep.
that we can occasionally post on. There's like a Munson Wilbraham, Hampden one, and there's a couple of gardening groups that are also really good for
Hmm.
getting people in.
Yeah. And you will find, and your wife probably knows, as time is going on, I think it's getting expensive, more and more of the towns are sharing, i.e. this, we're gonna share with Granby.
Yeah.
Our nurse health system, we're sharing with Long Meadow.
okay.
Well, your wife-
Wow, that's a,
So, Wolverham is sharing with Munson on their, veterans assistance.
No,
We're sharing with Long Meadow and Wales.
East Long Meadow,
Wales, yeah.
East
Yeah,
Long
East
Meadow.
Long Meadow, right, excuse me, East Long Meadow and Wales on veterans. So a lot more things are getting shared. Our 911 is now shared, we're part of Wilbraham.
Mhm.
So more and more the different towns are sharing.
Yeah,
So for this to be with you and Granby is somewhat of a stretch, but not
it's
unheard of.
yeah.
it's also, Granby's 12 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah, right.
it's easy for me.
Not that,
That's good.
but anywhere is far from here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Takes 20 minutes to get to the highway.
What are they thinking, hours wise?
So
Between
I
the
think,
two
I think the
towns?
15, if I remember, the 15 hours here is correct, and I think it's 20
20,
there.
20 for a total of 35, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe that's what it is. And what days I'm where, that I don't think anybody's dictating. so
I don't
it
think
just comes
anybody's
down to what
yeah.
works Best.
The last
for
time I talked to
everyone.
Bob, it was going to, let's see what works out for the 3 towns. I mean, for the 3 towns, for the 2 towns, excuse me.
Does site visits count as part of that time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, everything
Paid.
counts.
He's paid, so that's.
Except stuff you do at home.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
well, thank you.
Anything else?
I'm sad the other guys aren't here because it would be nice
Yeah.
if they could meet you, but,
Mhm.
If anybody needs to reach me for anything, I'm very responsive on my email. So,
okay,
Okay.
setting up anything in the future, just email directly.
great. Okay,
If you want to see this solar thing start happening next month when we have that, then feel free to.
well, you can always
Yeah.
zoom in and not have to drive.
Yeah, I'll zoom.
Yeah, you could do, it, right?
Sure.
Okay,
All right.
thanks again.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Likewise.
All right, Mr. Knowlton, this is not a formal hearing. It's just kind of making a preliminary visit to make sure things are in order. You just bought the property, right?
I purchased it 31 January of this year.
Again, sir, if you could slide over a seat so you can be on camera, since we're zooming.
Yes.
31 January, so we've had it just a few months. Taking that time to like walk the property, learn the property. I've met with Jacob Mako, State Forester. Asked him to come down, do a site walk with me so I could just learn
Ah,
what I have. Also, I met with Joseph Kowalski. He's a biologist, arborist, forester, and Peter Levesque. He's got like consultants. He's actually the one that told me to go back to Smith and Associates for the delineation, because after I met all these people, they pretty much had the same message. Beautiful parcel, a little hilly, but it's like hilly in a step sort of way. So it's not just a steep grade. And it looks to be free of wetlands with the exception of Big Brook, which was actually the selling point. My wife and I absolutely love the tranquility of that little spot. So
it's a pretty area.
so beautiful.
So he's talking, for people online, I'm not sure how many people there are. Just one. This, is really two parcels, one in Wilbraham
Yes.
and one at the very end of Hollow Road, the last parcel on the right of Hollow Road.
So yeah, it's the Hampden portion is like just over 5.5, and the Wilbraham portion is 5.3, so a total of 10.8, give or take. And so my biggest concern was, before I did anything, I understand rules and regulations, right? Which I know there are lots of. So that's why I talked due diligence with all these experts. And I'm pretty pleased with the outcome of what they told me, which is why I printed up one, but it looks like we made duplicates.
Yeah.
So
I gave one to every, yeah, they have a
you.
packet.
thank you. So what I wanted to point out on the first page is the vision my wife and I have of the 10.8 acres is to have a homestead, a retirement home, right? Nice modest size home, and a farm, old style New England farm, where you get a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Nothing that's going to be like all corn or 100 head of sheep or something like that. It's just old style, self-contained
Yeah.
farmstead. The way the land works out, it looks like we'll have our home on the Hampden side fully entirely. And also on that parcel would be our orchard. And then we have the 200-foot riparian zone that would bump up against. And then on the Wilbraham side, which isn't necessarily a concern for this town, is where we'd have like the barn and the greenhouse and the rest of the garden and stuff. So that'll be my conversation with Wilbraham. So the big question I had was wetlands, right? And the river or the brook that runs through. So on page 2, again, Pete Levesque said, work with Smith and Associates. I called them back. They provided this second schematic that the previous owner had already had made up. But what they hadn't done is they had driven stakes at the 200-foot mark on the Hampden side, and those are still present. I didn't mess with those, other than to put they were stakes every 100 feet, and I put like every 25 my own. So I could
What kind of stakes are they?
wooden stakes with orange tips.
Oh, okay, just flags.
Yeah, just
Okay.
to denote the area.
So I'm taking notes. So they're every 25 feet?
Now they are,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Great.
I had contacted Smith and Associates and I said, hey, I see that you had marked out the riparian zone on the Hampden side. This schematic that they gave me also has indicators that it continues, but they didn't stake it. So I asked them to come back, please, which they just did, just before the beginning of November, and they staked out the rest. So the
Okay.
entire property from south to north now have stakes every 25 feet, right at the 200-foot mark that parallels the river as indicated on this diagram. So other than that, the third page, I realized reading and learning and talking to these people things to be concerned about are the NHESP, which is the wildlife and the plants, which conveniently for our land kisses the bottom lower right-hand corner, right where the riparian zone is. So that becomes a non-issue for that component. The DEP wetlands, all this was pulled from Mass Mapper, which is a great website. There are identified woodland swamps around, but none on the parcel. And I've been walking there for hours and hours, and I haven't seen any that would indicate that that's wrong.
The only thing is there is, on Mass Mapper, it identified, as you said, back in that corner, that same corner.
Yeah.
What they call a wet spot.
A wet spot, okay.
Wet spot.
That one.
It, at one point, you can see in the older, when you get all of the
Yeah. No, I think I've seen them.
have you seen this one? When you get all of the hydrology, there's a root in the river there.
Yep.
And I think that's it. It was kind of circling around this wet spot.
Right, and
So-
that's right in that
It's
riparian.
very close. It's just outside the NHESP habitat.
Okay, so hopefully that's not gonna be too much of an issue, because I'm not looking to build any structures or anything down.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
The orchard would just continue as close as it can.
The only other things to be aware of, they don't have regulatory power, but they're there for informative purposes, just so you know what's on your land, or if you wanted to get a grant for something.
Oh, I see.
That same area, you have official biomap to rare habitat. And there's an aquatic core aquatic buffer that runs along the riverfront.
Okay, but that's
because it's
at the brook line, right?
Yeah, it's a little farther out than the 200 feet, but there's no regulatory import to it. It's just like if you want a grant to get flood control, or you wanted to get help with maybe some of your agrarian things, some of those things, the more of those things you have to protect, the better off you are.
Okay,
For,
That's
so
good
it's
to know.
worth knowing.
Yeah.
You go into that section that's called conservation and recreation. And way at the top, there's one called biomap you can open up, and it's got all sorts of stuff to look at. It's kind of interesting. There's a lot of stuff directly across the road from you, but then there's those two things in your property.
right. So you said conservation, recreation, biomass?
Yeah, biomap too. It's right up at the top of the list that comes out under conservation and recreation.
Another new thing to learn.
Yeah.
Uh,
Also, I noticed they circled on your map that there are two vernal pools uphill from you on the other side.
Yes, that's not,
They're like 400 plus feet away from you, so
Right,
they're out of,
yeah, I think I'm pretty. far.
even towns that have big ranges only have 300, so.
Right.
You're okay, but just to know they're there. They're very cool things. They have salamanders and
Frogs.
frogs, and, yeah, all sorts of cool
Yeah.
things. So you might,
What they don't have is fish, so that a lot of other animals can grow in there, but they're not gonna get.
they
eaten.
don't eat the eggs.
I'd like
so.
to check it out. I just don't wanna,
Yes, your neighbor, if you can talk them into letting you wander up there, they're really interesting, usually starting about March.
oh, awesome.
Everything kind of happens in
Got
that.
an 11-year-old son.
Ah,
So
yes.
perfect, yeah, perfect age to.
A lot, we end up with several kinds of salamanders in our town.
Okay.
And also several kinds of frogs, wood frogs in particular, like vernal pools.
Okay, awesome.
And two kinds of turtles that we watch for.
Okay.
Box turtles. You're not officially in box turtle territory except in the natural heritage area.
Right.
And wood turtles, which tend to like to go along those cold fisheries. They like the cold fishery, pure water.
Okay.
And they nest in the banks that are sandy. So I'm not sure about any in your area. Basically, sometimes you don't see anything, even if they're there, because nobody's been spending time on that land, so they haven't seen anything there. They replot the natural heritage areas for years or so.
Yeah, that was one of my questions originally. Wilbraham has a slightly different map. And after I called NHESP to talk to them about it, they said Wilbraham's map is older and that the Mass Mapper is the most.
Mass Mapper is the one you go to find out. It's
So that's
it's
where I'm
updated the most. Yeah.
And then the last thing that I have concern is ridgeline and hillside on the last page. So you can see through the center of the parcel, south to north, there's approximately 15%-ish for short period. It's right at 200 feet. give or
Yeah.
Take, depending, I mean, from north to south, it's not 200 feet, but the depth of it going from west to east
Mhm.
is right at 200. A little two spots, it's maybe 220 and some are like 175, but what I'm looking for is our house would be ideally situated half into that zone so that we could have a nice walkout basement into the area. It'll be overlooking the riparian zone. It'll be really
A
beautiful.
lot of walkout basements in this town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We're hilly enough, there's a lot of them.
Well, Bonnie knows more about this than I do with Hillside and Ridgeline, but it's under 600 feet. So that's
Yeah,
kind
that's
of,
right. So
that's one of the
it's
markers.
just under, it's another one of those things that's just under
Yeah.
the cutoff. So I'm hoping not to have any,
Yeah.
too
If
much.
I were you, I would still check with the Hillside Ridgeline. That's
There-
under the planning board,
Okay,
just to see. I don't see where
Yeah.
it would be a problem, but
A lot of it's about retaining soil on slopes and view.
for.
So, and you're not going to be in anybody's view.
no, you're
there,
not gonna
so-
be in any of that.
You're not gonna have to.
We're looking at the other valley.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going down, not up.
I'm guessing that
Yeah.
wouldn't be an issue, but you can check with them when you do.
I
the
would
planning
just
board
check,
stuff.
just so that you can do all your checks. you know?
Absolutely. No, trust me, I don't
Mm.
want to start something and have
But I don't see, most, the Hillside Ridgeline was written mostly to protect our mountaintops.
clear cut, big mansion.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we've got so
Um,
many.
And that's why it was originally written. I actually worked on that with Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. And myself and another woman, Robin Warner, and then we had to bring it to town hall and our town meeting and get it, approved through the town and all that. But although you're sort of in the area, you're not on a ridge.
Right.
You're not, because on the ridge line, like if anyone, we have had several people in town that have bought like part of the mountain, but you can't build on the top. You have to build down
Oh,
from
okay.
the top so that the peaks of the mountains remain in a natural state.
Sure,
I mean, there's a lot more to it than that, but that was the,
the gist of it.
yeah.
So in a nutshell, we're looking to build a home in Hampden. It's not.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's not going to be immediate because we just purchased the property. We're going to try to pay the property down before we start building. Timeline is roughly 5 years from now. So in the interim, what I'd like to do, because some things for farms take a long time, like orchards, plant them now and you gotta wait 5, 7, 9 years, right?
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do is selectively harvest the oak trees on both parcels outside of the riparian zone. And that way I can leave the maples, so that can be harvested for
Mhm.
maple syrup. And also I'll have a better idea of how I can lay the farm out
Yeah.
in the future, but I'd like to harvest the oak trees and I don't think I can just go in there and do it, which is why I'm sitting here to show you that I've done my best for due diligence. The areas I believe should be protected will be protected, which if I'm not mistaken, allows me to proceed with the planning board. to say,
Yeah,
"Hey,
I'm sure the state forester told you that you can take, I think it's, at this point, it's like 50,000 square feet. There's a square footage you can take without having to have
25,000.
even a forestry plan. You
Oh,
can just do
well,
that.
It's 25,000.
I would suggest you get it anyway because it protects you.
Well, one of the things I talked about with Jacob Mako, I'm really bad with names, so I always have to look back. Is we were talking about a cutting plan. And I was being honest with him. I believe in being straightforward, right? And he's like, well, are you planning on rejuvenating the forest? And I said, no, I plan on replacing it with a farm and an orchard, and all the different things that go with a farm. So I said, the trees come down, I'm not replanting because I wouldn't consider an orchard repopulation of a forest. So he goes, well, thank you for being honest and good conscience. I can't allow you a cutting plan to cut down everything because the intention is not to harvest, to grow, to harvest, to grow, right? That's my understanding of it, which is fine.
But you're still allowed to clear
a certain, I don't know how that translates into trees. So I don't know.
a certain square footage. Well, there's rules about the amount of canopy you have to leave and stuff like that. There's calculations you can do.
Is that in non-regulated area or the regulated area?
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
So,
So who do I talk to about that?
well, it sounds like the state forester isn't going to be that helpful.
Well, no, I thought he was real helpful.
Was he?
I know you must laughing, but he was really careful because he knows his rules and regulations and his limits of his authority. But was kind of leaning towards common sense too. He's like, if you're trying to do this, you could say, right? Yeah, I want a cutting plan and then change my mind a few years later.
People do that.
But I
In
didn't
fact,
want to.
developers do it all the time. They make a 10-year cutting plan and then they,
Right, and I didn't want to
They
do that because
cut.
I didn't want to run into problems down the line, right?
Yeah,
So just be
yeah.
straightforward, and he agreed with that. And that was one of the reasons why he said probably a cutting plan wouldn't be a proper fit for this parcel. So
yeah.
what I did during the summer, I don't think it's a bad thing, is I went through the property very carefully and marked all the oak trees. So that come winter time, when the ground freezes, because that's another thing I want to do is preserve the ground. I don't want big machines in there tearing everything up, destroying everything. Selectively cutting down the trees is my goal. Small local lumberjack, I guess. So the oak trees are harvested. I just don't know the next step, which is what you just said.
Yeah, you could get a private forester.
Yeah.
Who would also help you pick which are the most valuable trees.
Okay.
Both
some-
either habitat or wood, whatever you want. That might be helpful because he also knows all the rules about how much you can take without a plan and all
Yeah,
that.
that was Joseph Kowalski. He's been in the game for a while. He was pretty fun to talk with. So I guess the next thing is, do I invite you to the property to do a walkthrough so you can see?
I thought that you would want
Yeah.
to see where it's flagged.
It's a
really-
good idea just to
Sure.
check it out. We've been around, we've been in the property next to it
Oh, yeah.
many times
Yeah,
recently.
That's the
but
big parcel that was just sold.
Yeah,
This parcel is very clearly delineated, so the.
yeah, also not as soggy. That
Oh, no,
parcel's
it's-
very soggy.
Yeah, this is not soggy. There may be after, like, we've had such an incredibly wet summer.
Oh, I know.
There
Yeah.
were wet spots everywhere.
Well, that aquatic buffer, clearly will get wet.
Yeah.
But,
The rest of the property was.
yeah, I would just suggest you get a private forester to come.
Okay.
Also, to ask him to look for what are called legacy trees. You want to pick, there are trees that are probably going to live a long time, that have a lot of habitat quality, that are good
There are
for,
a few on there that we,
Yeah.
I want to make sure we keep.
and have him help
Right after-
you choose those.
Massive oaks.
It's a relatively small property for a forester, so he'll consider it a small job.
Right.
And he can calculate how much you can cut without exceeding the state limit. And that's per year. So,
Oh,
Um,
okay, I didn't think of that.
yeah, you can always stretch it out over the years. If you
We've got the time because I want to spend
Yeah.
the next 5
might do
years.
the house area and then do,
Well, my big push is the house area after the orchard area. I'm gonna try to get the orchard
Yeah.
in as soon as
that
possible.
totally makes sense. And as long as you stay out of the riverfront, try even not to drop them in the riverfront if you can help it. But if for some reason, because of slope or whatever, they have to, just have them use one of their, they can either drag it out or grab.
You know, what's
grab it.
real interesting about that? The riparian zone itself, on the last page in green, it's a very flat area. That's the flattest part,
Is it?
parcel, yeah,
Yeah.
in fact,
Yeah.
Well, that's where the brook runs through.
Right.
so.
well, the brook's further down.
But the brook has actually moved. It's
Oh, really?
moved away from, yeah, towards the west, I guess it is.
Oh,
Um,
I didn't know.
So, yeah, when you pull up, also under physical resources, there's one called hydrology.
Yes,
And if you click on all those, you'll find that all the streams don't overlap. There's ones that, like the
Right.
one that I talked about with the loop where your wet spot is.
Yep.
And some of those were taken off the USGS in 85 and, they go forward. So you'll see where it's migrated from year to year, but
And it's moving.
it's not migrating a lot.
West
I
or
mean, we're
east?
talking
I
over
would think.
50 years.
It's
East,
moving east.
east, yeah.
Because most of your flat land is to the west. So it used to be there and it's slowly migrating. Okay.
Here, I'll pass this to you. This also shows, this is the rare core habitat, which is mostly on the property next door.
Yep.
And this blue is the aquatic core buffer.
yep, that would be the. big-
Yeah, and if you look at, there's all these little blue lines that are light blue and dark blue. The darkest blue is the cold water fishery.
Okay.
That's the most recent plot.
Okay.
But all the other ones will show you, you can keep this as the historical migration of it.
Yeah, I love it. I actually really enjoyed learning about all these things. I had no idea.
There's a lot on there and they're always adding, they're always
Yeah.
throwing new stuff in.
The barrier that blocks the road from going into Wilbraham
Yes,
is
the
right at
gate.
the border.
It's right at the border. It's actually about 30 feet from the stone marker. So the border itself
Yeah,
kicks off at an angle, right?
yeah.
So right where the stone marker is, about 30 feet beyond that 25.
In Wilbraham though.
It's on the Wilbraham side of the
Yeah,
gate,
okay.
right? And actually, I was gonna ask if, not that it impacts this town or this meeting, but if they were to move that gate 100 feet further into Wilbraham, there's a big cutout on the left where people could park, because right now they
Oh.
just park
Right,
all over the place on the
right.
street.
right, because the trail is right there. yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
that's fine, but if that was simply moved, they
Oh,
don't have to
right.
do anything.
Yeah.
They,
yeah.
they open up like 5 parking spaces maybe,
No,
without having to do anything.
It's worth going to the select board and seeing,
well,
how they
this,
feel about it.
it'd be Wilbraham though.
It
It's
would
on
be
theirs.
Yeah, it's 100% Wilbraham.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
It's a relatively sensitive road because there's been fights over that road in the
Yeah.
past, just um,
what kind of?
about whether it would
Right.
stay open, whether it would
Oh.
be maintained by the town, et cetera, et cetera.
I hope it
So-
doesn't open again. So-
Which is partly why the gate's there.
No,
Yeah.
but
Um,
there's a trailhead there now
Yep.
yeah,
to go up.
my guess is they
Sunrise.
shouldn't care about moving it a few hundred feet, but
Well, but see,
Yeah.
from the other side, the Wilbraham people can come in and park there. It's
Yeah.
coming from the Hamden side.
On the
Right.
Wilbraham portion of Hollow Road, there's actually a cutout for 3 to 5 cars to park.
yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
So it seems reasonable if they
They're
could do the
coming in
same
from
thing.
Hamden, you can't.
Put a few
Yeah.
cars parked.
That's because there's a conservation area
Right,
there.
it's beautiful. That's one of the reasons we bought it, is because
Yeah.
it's surrounded by the conservation. So, what kind of schedule works for you, as far as coming out for a visit?
You see, I'm-
Oh,
Want to go now?
I don't,
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think
Headlamps?
It's an RDA. We've looked at the process.
Yeah.
You guys can go out and see if you have any other issues, but we were trying to decide whether we should ask you to file an RDA, which is what we normally do. Just so that we have a chance to look at everything, but we looked at everything. You've got a nicely plotted map. Which is usually the main
25
point of
acres to
that.
walk. It's not.
well, I was just
So-
gonna ask you, if you don't have an issue, I can just go out there whenever I feel like
By all
if you don't mind.
Just
I don't-
wander around and check it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I
the,
can find some time.
what I've done is I've taken a leaf blower and I've blown, the line, the border that had been flagged by Smith and Associates. They had the yellow flags. So I've got a nice straight border.
This one?
Yeah, so that's very
Okay.
easy to walk.
Okay,
I started putting like kind of a mini rock wall there to
Mhm.
show the line, make it easier. And then the Wilbraham is, the Wilbraham felt in the center.
yeah, this
The
one?
Wilbraham Hampden line
Yeah.
is, I did the same thing. They had,
Oh, okay,
marked, so I just took a leaf blower, so I could straight arrow,
Oh, great.
easy to
Yeah.
walk.
That's good.
Perfect.
Have you met with Wilbraham yet?
Not yet. Yeah, I wanted to meet with Hampden
Yeah.
first because that's where a
The
lot of the
house.
initial, the house.
Yeah.
the
Right,
Yeah.
the house,
now.
yeah.
Sure.
I don't see any issues with that. It's,
Yeah.
How is the underbrush there? Is it?
It's not too bad.
It shouldn't be bad right now.
No.
Not now.
Well, I know, but prickly bushes don't, the leaves may fall off, but the
Minimal,
vines.
there's minimal pricker bushes. The highest concentration are down by the brook. Right on the
Okay.
brook.
as usual.
We did one this,
Yeah.
was
Oh,
it last
yeah.
year? And
This past,
there were parts that
Spring.
even the specialists couldn't get into.
Really?
yeah.
It was
Yeah, the
thick.
field biologists are usually so bold, they just go marching through, but
Is that the other larger parcel?
No,
this is
no,
No.
a different
Way
street.
up.
I've done a
whole
couple
different thing.
recently where it's very bad. The back of Chapin Road is
It
very hard
was
to walk.
so dense, even the
Yeah.
specialist said.
Yeah.
You'll have zero issues walking the
Okay.
properties. It's actually pretty open.
Yeah.
It must have been farmed at some point.
Most of Hampden was
Yeah.
Right. I don't know how long ago the trees, maybe 100 years ago.
1800s maybe.
Yeah.
The other thing, just to stick in the back of your head while I was checking out the Mass Mapper, is that a good portion of your property has high ledge. So you've got ledge just under the surface.
Oh, yeah, that's actually relevant.
It's relevant to where your water pools. I live
Yes.
with a very high ledge.
Right, there's actually some really gorgeous rock formations there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and outcroppings. So just when you're planning, if you plan a basement or whatever, just plan on.
Okay, yeah,
you know,
Yeah,
that
because
it's
we
gonna
have
be-
high ledge where we live and we had to, they started digging and called us up right away and said, you got the state of Texas under this. And we had a blast. It was very expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the,
your septic, your well, you're gonna have to,
is it?
you're gonna have to find where you can
It's
get.
not as bad as it looks
Right.
like it
Can I
could
just
be in
note
other
that
places.
straight?
It's really tough.
I have a question back to the Hillside Ridge Line.
100 years ago.
Yeah, right.
So are you in it or aren't you in it? Because I was thinking that with the Hillside Ridge Line, you can clear cut. And I'm not sure if it was 2 or 3 acres.
So what's interesting about this parcel is, I'll view it as a whole, right? The 10.8 for both townships. On page 2, it's a little easier to see. So if the entire outline is 10.8 acres, the riparian zone is approximately, using mass mapper outlines, approximately 3.3 acres.
Mhm.
So that leaves
Oh.
the workable land
Yeah.
to be about 7.5 acres. So when I cut the trees, I'm starting with the oaks because I don't want to clear cut. I don't want a field, right? I'd like to keep it
Oh,
as natural as
yeah,
possible,
okay.
but
Well, excuse me, you're gonna have to clear cut for someone to put an orchard in.
for that portion, yeah, so the portion near the street, I'd say maybe no more than an acre
Okay.
on that side would be the clear cut for the orchard.
Like
I
in
think
this
that's what-
triangle right here, sort of?
A little further, I'd say about here-ish. Because the
Okay.
land is actually
Looks a little
pretty,
flatter
yeah,
than, Yep.
there's a point where it drops off and that's pretty much where the orchard
Yeah.
would stop. Because that's the point where for 100 feet, it's like this.
Mm.
And then it stops and then it levels out again like a step.
I would leave yourself a few oaks just because they're the absolute best habitat tree there is.
Which is,
Oaks.
oh, yeah, there are.
Best for
like
birds.
The legacy oaks,
Yeah.
along Hollow Road, there's some absolutely massive, there's 3 massive oaks that are gorgeous.
Yeah.
And they're right on the road, so I guess technically the town owns them because it's within that 10 foot.
no.
And then on the property, there are couple good sized oaks, not too many, but there's some massive pines. And Joseph Kowalski was saying that they're the wolf pines. So they massive, but they broke and they
Oh, yeah.
broke 3 huge things.
Mhm.
Oh,
Because they may not last long because
Mm.
they're so big, but
Yeah, they did
there are
come
some-
down in the big storms.
right, those
Yeah.
ones I want to make sure I leave because of the just.
Yeah, they're interesting and the oaks will draw the critters you want to watch.
Okay, yeah, if I can, definitely, I want to be able to, that's one of the reasons I want to take the 12 inchers, 18 incher ones away so that I can see what I
Yeah.
have to work with.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
So you're planning to do the same thing here, like with us, to go to the planning board and just do
With Wilbraham?
No, our planning board.
Oh, yes. Yep. So I figured I'd start with you,
Yep.
because the impact of the wetlands. And then once there was an understanding, and it sounds like we're pretty much on the same page, right? Then next thing would be to go to the planning board. I already asked about roughing in a driveway, which is something you'll see either near the gate, you'll see white flags going down. It's about 200 feet long. There's got to be some backfill. That's the same spot, but
The 200.
so all that stuff is gonna come slowly, but I wanna have the driveway
So,
roughed in before any other work goes, because I don't want huge machines just. tearing
Yeah,
through the
yeah,
property,
200 feet
You know,
from the river.
I'm gonna
Mhm.
keep it
It's
as
a-
central as
It's not a river with an ambiguous bank. so.
possible. I'm trying. So, that's all I had. I don't wanna take more of your time, sorry.
No, It's okay.
You might want to put in some, you said you were putting some rocks along. You might find some, if you run into a giant boulder when you're building,
Yep,
plop those on your riverfront so that you'll know where that line is
The
after,
200,
after the flags die.
yeah, no, I
Yeah.
was trying to think of what I could do.
You can measure
200.
200 feet pretty easily from the obvious bank. Their top of bank is where you start.
And my estimates
Mhm.
were not as precise as Smith and Associates, but I thought it was here, it was actually here. So
Yeah.
I had just put a couple stakes.
But, you know, a few big boulders will also, help remind, like the loggers when they're there, not to take that
Yeah.
cut around.
Right. Right, yeah, I want to make sure that's,
Because that's usually when the most problems occur, was when people are working on the house, people are working on the forest.
Yeah.
Some guy decides it'd be much shorter to just go that way.
right,
And one thing we try to be pretty strict about is keeping large equipment out of that.
right, yeah, I want the same thing. I'm looking-
You are easily permitted to put in a 30-inch wide path. So if you want a path along the river,
Oh, okay,
and to do what's called vista pruning, which is just cutting out the invasives, number one.
okay,
And, or if, once your house is sited, you say, I want to be able to see through the trees
Mhm.
to the river,
Mhm.
you can selectively thin so that you have a vista.
okay. I don't know if that actually would work because the big brook is down.
Yeah, so it's
It's
a
in a
little
bit of a
far,
valley,
but the
but
path, it might be
Good.
something that you want. So as long as you keep under 30 inches.
Okay.
And if you have to cut any shrubs or anything, just cut them, don't pull the stumps. So that way you're not
Cut 'em.
disturbing any soil
can I put down like crushed rock or wood chips on the path?
on the path, yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea. It'd be nice. It's about
Make it
1,000
nice.
feet by the river. If the
Yeah.
lines are on 1,000 feet, so it's nice.
how is that brook running now? Is it,
That's what I was curious about. So, all winter long, last winter, it was running. The rains kept it flowing quite nicely, but even I was surprised at the heaviest rains, when it was like a week of nonstop heavy rain. It was high, but it wasn't a torrential, brook. It was
Good.
flowing strongly, but
Yeah.
not crazily. And then it just kept flowing. So when the rain stops, all year round. So, that's one of the reasons.
That's what makes it.
I would assume being so hilly there, a lot of the hill bleeds out.
Yeah, right. It's just
Yeah.
all-
It comes
But
down,
it
Yeah.
never dies. It'll slow down a lot,
Yeah.
but it won't.
yeah,
If you follow, I was curious about Big Brook. It seems to originate, on the Wilbraham side, Glendale.
Yeah,
There's a
up
big
there somewhere.
swamp up there, massive
Mhm.
swamp.
Oh, okay.
So that feeds directly into
Yeah.
Big Brook with a couple other little.
yeah.
And Bird Brook
And then
feeds down to the Scantic.
because of
yeah.
the ledge, what happens is like in the springtime, you'll find from the edge of wherever the lead outcrops come out towards the surface, you'll get little waterfalls down towards Big Brook
Yeah, Yep.
that are just rushing out.
yeah. It
Um,
seems, I've seen that on the steeper sides.
Yeah,
And then obviously when we had like those torrential rainstorms for days and days and days, everything just got soggy and.
Yeah.
turned into-
so there
Every
will
path
definitely be
seemed to
there.
turn into a brook of some kind. But that's all. So if you want, I can join you on the weekends, or if you want, you can just head out there anytime you want.
Yeah, I was just gonna see if maybe it doesn't rain Saturday,
Yeah,
I'd like to pop
that's it.
over there for an hour or so and just look at it.
Okay.
it's actually supposed to be nice.
Tom's also our hiker.
Yeah,
He's always
I
looking.
know all the trails.
So I'm.
I go
gonna put
with
this
him
in
when he
the
doesn't wear this old man out.
So are both of you going out?
It depends. I don't know what's.
Yeah, I don't know when yet, but
I don't know. Depends on.
So then I'll
what the
just put
Family
down that-
schedule is.
You will be doing a site inspection?
Yeah, I will, it's just looking at the,
I'm usually there on
Markings
the
or any-
weekends, just walking around.
all right, if you're there, then
Lots of
great.
piles of sticks,
Sure, okay,
a lot of sticks. I don't know what I'm gonna do with them. Anybody need sticks?
no.
All right.
Thank you for coming in ahead of time. It's always
Yeah,
more helpful.
Great,
So I do or do not have to file?
You don't,
I don't. Okay.
unless one of you thinks that's
no,
necessary.
Okay, so I guess next is planning board and then make sure everyone on that side. Thank you for your time.
Just stay away from that riverfront and,
yeah,
you know, if for some reason
already marked,
you need to do
Right.
something that goes into it, then you can come back with an RDA,
yeah.
which is a simple thing to fill out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's,
Um,
I can safely say for at least 10 years, it's just gonna be something beautiful that we
Yeah.
can. If anything, at the furthest reach, it would be, the question would be agricultural. Is there
Sometimes
anything
it's
I can-
where your septic and well get positioned that you end up with one or the
Yeah,
other.
that
That's
could
good to know.
Come back as,
So, but you can
Never know.
file an RDA for that. You don't have to
Yeah.
go with notice of intent or anything.
yeah,
All the rock outcropping and stuff,
Yeah.
what you wind up being able to do may be different what you're planning to do.
right,
Right, yeah, I'm aware of that, so I'm flexible. Right.
You could be a stone cutter.
Right?
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna have a pretty good business there.
Nice to meet you.
okay,
Thank you, like,
thanks.
And good luck.
thank you.
Yeah.
See you around.
Yeah.
Okay. So next, Mill Pond. You have in your folders some materials about signage. We've had a lot of trouble in the past with when we put up the typical green fence posts with the metal signs on them. They make good targets, they get ripped off, they get bent over. These are more like Forest Service style. They're not real tall. You can get them up to 72 inches, but they're really hard to break or bend. And you can put various and sundry stickers on them. It's not something we have to decide right now, but I wanted you to have them to look at. You can go on the website and see all the stickers.
I like the vernal pool sign.
Yeah.
The vernal pool
That's, is
sign,
that the same one that's on the fence by the rural pool in Great Horse?
yes, this
Yeah.
is the vernal pool side that was designed for Great Horse.
Yep.
Um,
That is a great sign, yeah.
And the one suggestion that we had from several people after that one got put up was that we should include a town
Oh,
logo up
Yeah,
at the
sure,
top,
town
so that it
seal.
looks a little,
Town seal?
yeah,
yeah,
just in that upper space
Yep.
so that it's,
Yep.
because somebody said I didn't know. I think we were over there looking at the cart path and somebody said, I didn't know if that was official or not. So we thought, okay, stick a sticker on it, but, so that was the suggestion for that one. And that wouldn't go on on a post like those posts we have unless we'd have to have it specially made small.
Hmm.
That would go probably on a regular fence post.
mhm.
Get it from Signs Incorporated or whatever that is down there.
And you have with that, the signage papers, the letter that
I saw that.
was sent to the selectmen.
And they haven't answered, right?
Just asking if they're in agreement.
Yeah, we haven't gotten
And we
any
haven't heard
response,
anything.
you know, do it, don't do it, we'll go in on the survey, whatever. So what I plan to do, because we really want to move on this, is I will talk to Dick about how we go about accessing the stewardship funds that we have.
Mhm.
You know, I think we have to get prior approval to spend it, and then we spend it, and then we get reimbursed, but I'll just check with Dick.
So we don't need permission from the select board to get Emily or whoever to go out there and,
We have to get permission from them to spend the money.
right,
So we need to but we need to have some estimate from her.
all
So
right,
we'll get an estimate. We'll say, look, we want to take whatever it is,
Okay.
$100 out of
I see.
out of our stewardship fund to pay for it.
We don't need
And
permission to do it,
no,
just to get the money.
right, just to get the money. to
Now,
pay
what
for it.
about if she
Um,
can't, Pete Levesque? Only because he's close and local. That's.
Yeah, Pete's close, but he's also involved in so many projects.
Mm,
Um,
I just threw it out there.
I don't know, we might think about it. We could go back to SWCA as a possibility since it might be possible to hire them to do the pond project itself. So that's
Mhm.
one reason to pull them in. Or, I mean, it could be Pete, but he's just, it's a complicated project and very political, so it might be easier for him if we don't ask him to do it.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Because it's going to extend eventually to other parts of the Mill Pond area and, or it might, it has a potential for that. So I'd like to have somebody who could keep doing it. But if Emily can't, then we'll have to go with somebody.
Have you asked her yet?
No.
No.
No, I,
I didn't know if you did that.
no, but I was,
No, it
I'll have
got
time to
lost
do
in
it
the,
tomorrow.
in the paperwork.
I was waiting to see if the selectman said, do it or not do it, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so what we will do is we will try to make sure we can get a release of the funds for this, for the survey and for the markers. Because we can't put the markers along the border until we have a decent survey.
Right.
And we can't mark around the vernal pool without the delineation, but we can put a sign near the vernal pool because we know where it is. We can put this sign up right away, as long as we can pay for it.
Oh.
And
Do you
we
have
have,
an
we have
estimate on
some limited funds. We have, I don't know, like $300 or something that's open, that's not in that fund, but not very much. So that'll get us one or two signs and then it would start to really hurt our abilities. So that's all I wanted to discuss now. We'll keep working. I'll work on Dick and
Yep.
Bonnie's gonna work on Emily.
Right, I will. Tomorrow.
Are there any other things about that?
No.
Did you want to just
Okay,
mention this?
yeah, that's the next on the list.
Yeah, okay.
The other thing is apparently, one of the residents in town who's got a property for sale, was told that a person who was looking at her property came into the town hall and was told that it's not buildable. Or that the commission said it was not buildable or something like that. So we just wanted to stress that it's, no property is not buildable until the planning board says so.
Right.
So all we can do is point out where the difficulties lie and what the rules are. But just to be sure that
Right,
everybody knows
we're
that.
never allowed to say that, so, because I was talking to Jane about it, I mean, I don't think it was even our department, because I don't,
Right.
There's no
but,
reason to think that it was.
right, but she said that, the standard answer is, I can't say if it's buildable or not until you have all the information.
Right,
from
yeah,
all the
sure.
departments.
Yeah, you can pull up the map and show them where the wetlands are.
Yeah.
And all that sort of stuff, so that they know what they're getting into.
Do you know what property it was? Not that it matters, but
Can't say,
no.
Mm,
because I don't want to put that resident
Yeah, no problem.
in a bad place. So, but, yeah, it's just something good to keep in mind.
mhm.
You know, I know that periodically when I'm talking to other people in the town hall, I'll say, well, I wouldn't want to build on that property.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
But,
just a few other,
Maybe that's what was
Thing
said.
real
and
quick.
it's too literal.
Yeah.
yeah, it could be,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes we tell somebody that it's going to be difficult because there are limitations and they
Yeah.
take that as not buildable.
just a few other things to bring you up to speed. Tracy Nuri, she's the woman that has the house on Wilbraham Road, and Judy and her husband
Oh.
bought a portion, and then the other half of the other side of her house.
Yeah, she had a buyer and they pulled out.
Right, right, and she
Oh, did-
she did a request for determination. We gave her a determination that that whoever buys it would have to then file a notice of intent. She also had a perk test done on the property.
Oh.
And because I was speaking to her the other day, she called the office and she did send the office, which I have put in her file, the perk test when it was done and also the results, and it did pass a perk. So I'm
And
just
she
letting
also
you
got
know
a
that.
septic sited on it. There's a,
I asked her,
no, she didn't get it built, but
Right.
she has it in her, in
This is
the
the one we
plan.
looked at,
Yeah.
with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
drainage ditch underneath her backyard.
yeah, yep.
But it is
Yeah.
a tough site. It's got a lot of
Yeah.
wetlands and it's kind of steep
I was wondering if
when it gets to the back.
they pulled out the other buyer, potential buyer.
Well, I think as people start to build smaller and smaller houses again, instead of trying to put a trophy house on.
Well,
mm,
On the other hand, up on Chapin, some of those super skinny lots, they managed to get houses on
I
there. So
know.
I know who her potential potential buyer was.
the first one,
Yeah, the one that,
yeah,
yeah,
I know who it was.
all right. Anything else?
yeah, well, you just wanna, did you tell them that you were going to, that you have submitted, yeah, you did, letters to Tie and Bond for,
Oh, yeah, we've sent 2 requests to Tie and Bond about 530 Glendale. And we haven't gotten a response. We sent one to Melissa and then, or to Raina, and then we sent a second to Melissa. I'm going to send a third one to the VP
Okay,
that we,
yeah.
A VP.
Isn't that what we had to do before with something?
we had to wait a long
Same
time
one,
to get a
same
response.
for the
And
ANRAD.
I really want to know by December when we have the
Sure.
meeting, who it's gonna be. So if they say no, or if we're just not able to get a response before the meeting, then we'll check in with SWCA. I have a list of what we think we need, so we'll just forward that on. And I'm gonna give you that list at the December meeting so that we can go over that. That's one good way to start, I think, looking at. There's a lot of issues. I don't know if you've seen all the forms. This is just the NOI.
Oh,
The stormwater report is about 1.5 inches
Yeah,
thick.
it's at least twice.
Yeah, and then there's 3 maps that go with, so. It's complicated. So that they'll be coming to speak on the 20th and we'll be discussing it.
This is probably gonna be a 6-month thing, right?
Well, I think when Bonnie talked to him, he said he knew it would take, 4 months or so, or something like that.
He knew it
So-
would take a while.
So we're at least talking out to March or April. I would think to double check the flags and stuff. If they can't get it done in December, then it all of a sudden heads toward. I mean, it's all delineated, so it's a matter of replacing the flags and putting them back where they belong and that sort of
I
thing,
think some of them.
which should be doable as long as there's not snow on the ground.
Have some of them disappeared or?
Last time, when there was a space between when they originally got it flagged and when they went out to check, they had to move some flags
Oh,
one floated away in the river.
oh,
They found it down the river. And sometimes people who are on the site are thinking, oh, this is all
Yeah,
done with, and they
sure.
move it over. So one of the first things I'm going to ask them to do is double check all the flags on the property and make sure they're all there and they're all in the right place.
okay.
So that we can, and then we can start talking about permanent barriers at the critical places so that it all gets
Yep.
put in there properly.
So
So next
just-
month is gonna be the first hearing.
Just read your,
Yep.
December
You
20th.
have a month.
Yeah. 4 days before Christmas, just for fun.
yeah, yeah, you have a
Do
month and
something
a
like-
week.
like-
to-
I am gonna have a house full 2 days
Me too.
before I go to Florida.
And I'm,
Bring it to
and
Florida.
there's gonna be a lot of preparations
No,
for it, but
it's- The meetings.
at least the first meeting,
Oh,
we don't have to
otherwise I-
prepare quite as much as for the second meeting, so we'll just hope for the best.
Hmm.
And Mark has said he will help us. Okay, anything else?
I don't have anything.
Ted, anything from any of the meetings that you went to?
No, it's,
We might bring up the Mill Pond thing if you're at a select board
Okay.
meeting or something,
all right.
if there's a space. Just say, we're doing it, we haven't got a response, so we presume it's okay.
Bring a letter with you or something.
Yeah,
I'll send a note to Bob.
Yeah.
okay. All right, I'll take a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.